and welcome to another episode of Charlytalk, the show where I, lead singer and principal songwriter of the indie band Charlywood, speak to musical types about music. Today I am joined by Chris Uboh. Thanks for coming in. Really properly came in this time, not a band member. We're leaving the incestuous days behind us. Chris, you are a singer-songwriter, and that's about as much as I know. I've listened to your tracks. I've got some ideas about your influences, but I don't want to. I'll let you say that. So, just clue us in. We deliberately didn't ask you any questions when you came in before. Yeah. So just give us the deets.
All right. I'm a Vienna-based singer-songwriter. I've been doing this now for about 5-6 years, but very low-key. So, I come from a very, let's say, musical background. I've been playing instruments for years now, and doing music as a hobby was kind of my way to vent as a teen. And a couple of years ago, I decided to start, trying to get a couple of gigs to start writing my own things as well. In between, I try to keep it very low key at the moment because I kind of suffer under the illness that is kind of like not being satisfied with what I do. Mm-hmm. I think that also comes from maybe recording it and working on it by myself, which is always very difficult.
First time I watched myself on one of these videos, it was like the first concert recording all over again. Listening to myself talk, it was tough times. I got used to the singing a long time ago, but watching myself talking is difficult.
The first times for me were like a nightmare on stage, but I've gotten used to that as well. Yeah.
Cool. And your extraordinarily good American English accent, how does that explain itself?
My mom's an expat, so we traveled a lot when I was a kid. We moved to a lot of different countries, and I always went to international schools. Got a very thick American accent out of it.
Those international schools.
Yeah.
I see. So, I listened to your tracks on SoundCloud, and I was getting a bit of a Dave Matthews-y, David Gray vibe, and so pop-influenced folk, or folk-influenced pop? No, the other way around, huh?
Well, it's actually kind of funny because when I started playing guitar, I was about 15. One of the first songs that I actually learned to play was Dave Matthews' band, Crash Into Me.
Spooky.
It's a very creepy song, actually, if you think about it. But I loved the song, and I thought, I need to learn a song that I actually enjoy, because I'd be more focused on it. And when I started writing songs as well, I did take a lot of inspiration from Dave Matthews. Over the years, it's kind of developed a bit more in a different direction. I still enjoy listening to Dave Matthews, but I've also gone more into the direction of like Glenn Hansard and Damien Rice, especially Glenn Hansard, one of my musical heroes. I try to mix it up as well. I don't want to emulate someone. I do want to be my own person. Somewhere.
Sure. So, yeah, I mean, when I was listening to your tracks, I wasn't like, oh, that sounds just like that. But I always sort of try and think of influences when I'm listening. Yeah, but you talked about your original motivations for music making. How far back can we go? Like an earliest musical memory? Like when do you remember first being aware of music?
Well, we came from a very musical family. My eldest brother, we're 3. He's in a band as well. In Vienna, they do a lot of like gigs in like pubs and stuff like that. He was really into music already when I was a kid, and even before that, I remember my mom played a lot of piano in the house, and when she wasn't at home, I loved to just like experiment around. I was really terrible, but I loved doing it. And then I started taking piano lessons, and when that got really boring, that was around the time where puberty strikes. And you're trying to impress girls, and you can't carry like a piano everywhere.
Hey, ladies!
Yes,
got my sweet keyboard skills.
Yeah. So I kind of decided to switch to guitar, and I didn't want to take lessons because I thought, having someone kind of dictate what you learn makes it less interesting.
Mm-hmm.
And if I look back, I hated piano lessons. I went to an art school, and since I finished school, I haven't drawn anything anymore. I used to love drawing comic books and stuff like that when I was a teen. But my art teacher ruined that for me as well, because he wasn't a big fan of my style of drawing or my special direction.
Teachers, for the love of God, ask your pupils what they're into and then support them doing that. This is something I get annoyed about. Yeah. I'm sorry to hear more dreams ruined and potential talents crushed.
Well, the thing is, I kind of live under the motto, if it's your dream, then you don't give up.
Yeah, but your teacher shouldn't be slowing you down. They shouldn't be holding you back. You shouldn't have to overcome your musical education.
That is true, but even if I look back at when I started playing like guitar and singing, my voice was changing. I was 15, 16. So it was like cracking. And
tough times.
The thing is, back then, I had people who would hear me and they'll be like, just stop. Like, it's not good.
Singing's not for you.
Like, you can practice guitar and, you'll do your thing, but stop singing. Like, that's not yours. It's just not yours. And because I was really stubborn about it, and because I didn't have anyone to actually teach me how to do it, I just put the effort into it. And years later, I bumped into those same people again. And they look at me like, wow, if I recall, you were god awful. You were god awful. The first gig I ever had with 16 was the most embarrassing thing I ever experienced, because I had no idea of how to write a song. So it was basically just a lot of noise. It was.
You were playing your own songs with 16?
Well, yeah, we were in a high school band where we were trying to, write our, let's say, pubescent emotions down on paper. They made no sense at all. It was kind of the first attempt at rock music. And yeah, we had one gig and then we just quit the band. And all of us decided mutually, this isn't working.
We've all got some songs in the closet that we prefer to forget about from the early days.
That is true.
You got to run that tap for a long time before the water starts going clear. Cool. And that's something I always ask people as well, is any particular lightning bolt moments where you went, making music's the thing?
Well, I think it was a bit of the rebellious side in me. My mom always wanted me to do something with, politics or something stable. She always wanted a very stable job for me, and so that I could secure my future. And I loved music. I found music was kind of my gateway to express myself, to express what's going through my head, the emotions that, at the time were confusing, or concepts that, I just tried to figure out for myself. And I just knew, I think already with 17 or 18, I knew I wanted to do something with music. I didn't know if I wanted to be a musician or if I wanted to work behind the scenes. But over the years, I started performing, and I love standing on stage. It's kind of like an adrenaline kick somewhere, and there's always this nervousness before you go on stage when you're a bit excited. And I realized I really care about that, and I want to see how far I can go with that. I also tend to set myself goals for every year. So as an example, last year, one of my goals was to play outside of Austria for the first time, which I managed. And so it was all right, so I managed to reach that goal, which means I can continue and I can keep growing with the experiences that I make there as well. Mm-hmm. And yeah, nonetheless, if I look at it, I love performing, I love being a musician, but I would just as well be satisfied if I just worked with anything that has to do with music. I have an enormous passion for music and for musicians and for people who create basically some of the most beautiful things out of nothing.
Cool.
Out of what's inside of their head, basically.
Yeah. Yeah, that's what it's all about. That's art, sort of. Yeah, a good summary of it. That relates to a question that I was going to ask you, but I think you've already answered it, so I'm going to skip that one. So describe the typical songwriting process for a Chris Uboh song.
Well, the thing is, I have this black notebook that I carry with me, and on my way to work or on my way home from the office, I'll sit in the bus and I'll just jot down random thoughts or ideas that are going through my head. They don't have to be lyrics in that sense. It can just be something like when you're observing people, for example, and you see like a couple there that are holding hands and maybe she's crying, but they're still cuddling, and you ask yourself, okay, what's the story behind that, as an example? So I'll jot that down, and then I'll go through it later, and I'll see like, all right, so she's crying. What could she be crying about? Is she comfortable that he's there for her at the moment? Is she uncomfortable? And I'll try and kind of create a story around it. That's one of the processes that I use. So this notebook comes in handy a lot.
So you're a storytelling songwriter.
It varies. Like my process varies from song to song. There are also songs where I already have the lyrics, like in the back of my head, I have them, and then it's just about the fine tuning, like taking in a couple of words or exchanging it. And there are just moments where I might, I'm sitting on the sofa at home, just playing with my guitar, and then I'll find a riff that I really enjoy, and from that point, I'll build everything around it. So it might just be 2 chords, and everything else then kind of fits into the puzzle. And when it's done, I'll look at it and I'll be like, all right, it's good. Let's try recording it. Then I'll record it. I'll fumble around a bit because I have this, it's so hard to explain, but it's not hard to explain. Sorry, I'm contradicting myself right now. But
it's really easy to explain. No, Go for it.
There's a very interesting story about Prince as an example.
All right.
So his first album, he basically recorded everything on that album. He played in all of the instruments. He sang on it. Or Prince is a good example. Michael Jackson used to do that with beatboxing, and basically he couldn't play all the instruments, but he could put in the pitch. So his demos were basically a cappella of him, kind of constructing the song, and then later showing the musicians what they actually had to play.
Yeah, he demoed it.
Yeah. So that's basically what I enjoy doing as well. I'll see what would fit. Does a trumpet fit? Do the strings fit? My keyboard is my second best friend at home. And then, from there, I'll look at the lyrics again. I'll be like, all right, maybe this could change a bit, or this could kind of. So I said it's a process that somehow the pieces always fall into place at one point. It can be at the beginning with the lyrics. The lyrics can be solid, or they can come as the last thing as well.
Okay. So no fixed process. And it's not really a process, I'm getting the sense of as well. It's just stuff comes to you, and then you wait till other stuff comes to you. Or do you really have to hack away at it? And do you bother a song, or do you just walk away and wait for it to bring you the next
Well,
bit?
I bother a song for a bit. So for a while, I'll be playing. Let's say I start with a chord or a chord progression. I'll be playing this chord progression, then I might start humming a bit to it to see how it might fit lyrically. Then at some point I'll kind of have the feel for a song. So as a good example, the other night I was just fiddling around, and my girlfriend was with me at the moment, and I was just fiddling around, and she goes, she really likes the melody that I'm playing on the guitar. And I said, yeah, it's really nice, and I already kind of have a feeling to it. It reminds me of a kind of, let's say, dark and gothic kind of thing, like not goth music, but we were sitting there, and she goes, what do you mean? I said, well, just as an example, as a story, imagine it's a story of 2 young lovers who, basically the progression is that he starts saying, meet me between like the rows of corn, at midnight, so we can, see each other one last time, hold each other, blah, blah, blah. And the story develops out of that. And then this, it goes on to the next thing where he goes, meet me outside again so we can see each other one last time because your father doesn't approve of me, da 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 da. And then I said, and then the last chorus, it's like this big movie twist where it's not meet me outside between these like grains of corn is what I said. It's meet me beneath the grains of corn, where, like I'm lying right now while your father's like washing up in the kitchen and you're like 500 feet away from where I've basically been buried, My girlfriend and me was like, no, that's too dark.
Stephen King!
That's too dark, but that's kind of the process that works. And then, I'll also get feedback from people and say, all right, maybe I can change that. Maybe it doesn't have to be that dark.
Maybe I don't have to get killed by someone's dad.
Maybe you don't have to get killed by,
I don't hate it.
Exactly.
I have to tell you, I don't hate it. It's an idea. Cool. So, what is your latest musical effort? You got something on the horizon?
Yeah. I've secretly, over the past 2 years, very secretly, been working on an album, which has been a very, very tedious process as well.
Your first one, right?
My first one.
Mm-hmm.
My first one. It's been a very rough process, but it's very close to being finalized. And hopefully, I don't want to name a month, but I've gotten used to like, no, it's going to be done in December. It's going to be done in, but hopefully before the summer's over, it will be released.
Okay. So we can expect it 2018 for sure.
Yes.
In my experience, these things are often plagued by unexpected delays.
Of course.
2018.
2018.
You're prepared to commit to that.
I'm prepared to commit to that. And that's also kind of before the official announcement of it being released, there's going to be a step-by-step kind of marketing campaign to it, with also releasing songs and updating my social media presence and everything, and maybe giving myself a bit of a kick to
So, can people already like you on Facebook?
Yes.
You as an artist?
Yes.
Should they look for that?
I have an artist page on Facebook. I'm going to look directly into the camera right now because it's like one of those infomercial moments.
Yeah, do it.
You can find me on Facebook under Chris Uboh Music. You can find me on Twitter at Chris Uboh. It's so nice to have a very unique name.
Yeah. Not Chris Uboh too.
Yeah. And you can also follow me on Instagram because I heard that's the new kind of
the kids
thing.
are well into
Kids,
that.
they love that. You can find me under Chris Uboh Verse.
Nice. That's a good one.
The name's copyright to a good friend of mine, Tommy Herbert. He came up with it.
Yeah,
He's
solid.
a very talented musician as well, but I
Helping
immediately
people with
took it and I
Instagram.
stole it from him. I'm like, oh, I'm taking that.
Yoink!
Exactly.
Okay, so get that done. We'll pause. Okay, you're back. All that stuff's followed and clicked and liked and the things that you're supposed to do. We talked about live performance. Live songs. So you've told us quite a lot about the composing process and the production process. How often do songs surprise you in their live reception? So you've got an idea about whether this song is a crowd exploder or whether it's a sort of, low energy one where people might pop to the bar and refresh their drinks, and then you play it live and it's a complete shock. Does that happen often?
Well, the thing is, a lot of the gigs that I play are usually in bars, so I tend to be very sneaky about my own material. So I've gotten to this point when I started playing my own songs. I'd immediately announce like, okay, there's a self-written song. This is like this is that. This is one of my own songs, and I always got positive feedback about them. People would always say, it's good. It sounds it sounds decent. Sounds so bad. No, but it's a good song. It's wonderful. Or the lyrics are great. Your performance is so emotional. But then I got to this point where, especially playing in pubs, people aren't there for the music usually. They're usually just there to have a couple of beers, and you're more like you're the stereo in the background.
You're a jumped up jukebox.
Basically, yeah. That's the right word.
I've been there. We did that for a few years.
Exactly.
When Charlywood started.
So the thing is, I got to this point where I've kind of figured out my set list, and I don't per se play songs that everyone knows. I play a lot of my own favorites in between and everything. But I also enjoy like sneaking in my original material. So, you know, I might just like play something very uplifting, and then I'll just cut to one of my own songs. And the reaction's gotten better because people then actually come up to me like, that song you just played, from like, who wrote that?
Where can I look that up?
And I was like, oh yeah, it's one of my own songs.
Well, it happens to be one of
Well,
them.
it's like it happens to be one, just like coincidentally, and
Yeah, as
and
it
then
goes.
and then it's so heartbreaking because they go like, do you have a CD? And I'm just like, oh no, no, I'm still working on that. But,
Come and see me late 2018,
Yeah.
and I'll hook you up with a CD. So it sounds to me like you might be more writing songs for yourself. If you think about percentage, how much is for you and how much are you thinking of the audience? It sounds to me like you're slightly more towards making it for yourself than you are for making it for the audience. Would that be?
well, I think I don't know like how a lot of musicians work through their music. Like I've talked to a couple of people that I know. From my perspective, of course, the lyrics that I write tend to often be very self-therapeutical somewhere. And as I was saying earlier, I use them to reflect on different situations that I've had in my life or experienced. I've never been good at like political songs, as an example. I, not to say that I'm not political in any way, but I have friends who write, you know, all these lyrics about, you know, being a slave to the masses and blah 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 and working for, and I've always kind of felt like it's nice to bring over a message like that as well.
Huh?
But I think there are also more subtle ways to do that, and I think especially if you want to bring over a message, you should kind of start with yourself and look at what you've experienced, and it would be like saying I'm an expat kid, so I cannot write a song about growing up on the streets of Harlem and, you know, being
You
like,
could, but no one would buy it.
no one would buy it, you know.
You wouldn't be able to say it to
That's the
anyone.
point. So they are very personal, of course, and every
Yeah.
song is personal somewhere. But of course, I also want people to enjoy it. So I do want people to listen to it and go, oh, okay, that's a nice song. And maybe out there's another freakishly weird kid like I am who looks at the lyrics then and goes, oh snap, you know, I've been there before as well.
Yeah.
And this speaks to me. So it's kind of a middle thing.
Sure. I mean, there's always an element of, when you're writing a song, I think there's always an element of how's this going to come across. But listening to your demos and your tracks that you've already got online, I certainly get, if you think of it in proportions, that you lean proportionally more towards this is a thing that I'm doing for myself, which I also share with other people, rather than, you know, a straight up, you know, this is for the fans type deal. But yeah.
I think
You guys can listen on SoundCloud.
on
I
SoundCloud.
want to send people to
Chris
SoundCloud.
Uboh.
You're all over it.
Yeah.
All over it. So, should we talk some gear? Are you a gearhead? Do instruments matter to you particularly?
Oh yeah. I have a vast collection of guitars. When it comes to like pedals and everything, I've just recently gotten into like getting pedals because I mostly play acoustic. So they're you know, like I have a nice Boss pedal board right now, which is not meant for acoustic guitars because of the frequencies, but I still love playing my acoustic on it
Alright.
because it gives it a bit of a different feel, and I can also switch between sounds during a gig.
Okay. So it's a multi-effects.
Yeah, it's a multi-effect board, exactly.
Uh-huh.
But yeah, most of the equipment that I get like is mainly guitars. I've become a bit of a guitar freak when it comes to that.
That's an expensive obsession.
It is. I mean, I haven't bought one in 7 months, so that's a good thing.
You're going cold turkey.
Kind of. No, I'm very happy with the guitar I have now. It's a Sigma,
Right.
and it's actually done like good work. It's basically for the past 7 months been my trusty sidekick, and otherwise, yeah, I have.
Have you got that with you today?
Yeah, that's the guitar I have.
Stay tuned, folks. Live performance coming later. Chris has promised.
So, microphones as well. So I love microphones. But I also come from more of a sound engineering background than from a musician background.
Okay.
So when it comes to that kind of equipment, I do go nuts, but I'm trying to save money. So,
dude,
it's a very expensive hobby.
Yeah.
It is a very expensive hobby.
Are you a trained sound engineer, or is that a hobby thing that you've?
Yeah, I'm trained.
Right. So you do sound engineering for people?
No. My profession has to do with media, but I don't do anything as a sound engineer anymore.
Oh.
I haven't done anything as a sound engineer now for well over a year and a half.
Would you like to?
If the opportunity, puts itself forth, I'm always open for things like that. As I said earlier, I want to work with musicians.
Yeah.
I want to work in any kind of field that has to do with music.
Yeah.
Like that's a big dream for me. I've always said, there are a lot of people who might get into music. I'm not going to say out of the wrong ideals, because I do believe that it is a passion somewhere, but there are people like who want to get rich out of this, or who want to do it because they see themselves, let's say, in like standing in a stadium filling like crowds and rows of people, and getting filthy rich off of it. They don't know how much hard work is behind it,
and how incredibly unlikely it is.
And how incredibly unlikely it is. And I've always said, keep it realistic. As messed up as it might sound, but if at some point in my life I can live off of it, pay my bills, put a bit on the side so that, when I have kids or a family, that, we don't have to worry about anything financially.
Yeah.
And even if it's just once in my life to sit in the car and hear a song of mine on the radio, I would be happy with that. But it is a passion. And of course, if that chance came knocking my door like this, I would take it immediately.
Yeah. I think the safest thing for an artist to do, particularly these days, it's harder than ever because so many people are making music, because it's so easy now with technological advancements. It's relatively cheap and easy to teach yourself how to make really quite decent sounding music in your bedroom. I think the safest thing for any artist to do, just for their mental health, is to set the goal to make really good, authentic, like real music, and let that be your aim. And if you can achieve that, then you can be satisfied with that, and you can take your satisfaction from that. But if it's, I'm not going to be satisfied until I'm on a massive billboard, or I'm all over the radio, or I'm sitting in a swimming pool full of champagne with some ladies in bikinis, you're never going to be happy, and it's just going to be a litany of disappointment.
That is true.
Yeah, so I think, making the music the goal is the safest way, and I think it creates the best results as well.
Yeah.
Right, we're going to have a little break. We'll be right back. And we're back. So, coming back to live performance, do you have any live performances that you want to plug here on the interview?
Well, I do a lot of busking, so people can always find me somewhere on the streets, or I recently joined this project from Vienna's public transit service.
Oh yeah.
So you can also find me in one of the 5
in the
underground station spots as a musician. And when it comes to my concerts, you can follow me on Facebook. Right now, the next one that I know that's on the radar is the 1st of March, which is a quaint little concert in the bookshop.
Cool.
Yeah.
Ideal. Good. So, if you haven't liked him on Facebook already, all the more reason so to do. Good. So while we're at live performances, this is the moment when I ask you, have you got any amusing, touching, super real live performance anecdotes? Anything ever happened?
I've had a lot of them. I mean, I've had really nice like receptions from people towards the music I play, especially towards my voice. Got a lot of compliments. Stay tuned for the voice. I've had to deal with hecklers, which has been very fun. I once got the opportunity to play at a birthday party for someone.
Got heckled at a birthday party?
Well, it was in a bar, so there were people from outside inside as well, and I basically became the live act for the entire bar. And so I ordered myself a whiskey, which is one of my medicinal things. I'm not saying drinking is good, but a whiskey or two for the voice sometimes helps. And I just finished playing a song, and I ordered a whiskey, and bartender brings it over to me, and this drunk guy just comes out from between the crowd, and he grabs the whiskey from my hand. And he looks at me and goes, you don't deserve this. And he downs it in one and just like puts it back in my hand. And I was so shocked. I didn't know like what to say. And then I looked over to the bartender, and the bartender just looked at me. He's like, whatever you're thinking of doing right now, don't. Just don't. So that kind of motivated me to be a bit louder and a bit more aggressive.
It sounds like an alcoholic that's just looking for a way to get free booze.
Of course. But
abusing the talent and stealing their booze.
But he did get me 2 whiskeys afterwards. So I think the bartender made him. But yeah.
There we go. So any alcoholics that are watching, you can steal Chris's whiskey without any serious consequences, right? That's the message that we're getting from your story.
I might put up a fight.
Lessons have been learned.
Yeah.
So think twice, alcoholics. Cool. Right, so I think we'll wrap it up there. Thanks again for coming in. Stay tuned for the live performance, and we'll see you on the next Charlie Talk. Thanks a lot, Chris.
Thank you.
You're the poison in my veins. I've tried to run, but all I've done is crawl back again. And I'm your victim. You buried yourself in my skin like the sharpest needle. 'Cause I'll never love better. No, I'll never do better than with you. You're my sickness, my affliction. Loving you's become my worst addiction. And I try to spit it out, the poison that you feed into my mouth, that I'll never love better. No, I'll never do better than with you. Oh, love is pain. Oh, love is vain. And I don't want to. Lay myself down, you bury me, lay me down, 'cause I'll never love
Holy crap. If you're not subscribed already, there's something seriously wrong with you. Please consider doing so, because we're going to have more live music, more musical conversations. There's a long list of people that we're going to be inviting, so you wouldn't want to miss any of that. See you for the next Charlie Talk, and thanks for joining us.